It was staying there over time real quick. So I realized I was married.
Elvis Presley's life, filled with fame, fortune, and fans, has always been wrapped in mystery, intrigue, and heartbreak.
You face that way. Turn right around that way.
How are you, sweetheart?
But for his ex-wife Priscilla Presley, one aspect of his life continues to haunt her deeply. The final phone call she shared with the king of rock and roll just days before his tragic death. That last conversation, which occurred on the night Elvis passed away, would be filled with tension, confusion, and a sense of unspoken regret, an exchange that would haunt Priscilla for years. Elvis and Priscilla's relationship was anything but ordinary. The pair first met when Priscilla was just 14, and Elvis was stationed in Germany during his time in the army. Their whirlwind courtship and eventual marriage in 1967 made them one of the most famous couples in the world. But despite their fame, their marriage was fraught with challenges. Their 5-year marriage, which ended in divorce in 1973, remained complicated and marked by Elvis's ongoing obsession with his ex-wife, even years after they had separated. By 1977, Elvis was living a life of increasing isolation, addiction, and health problems. Although he had been dating Ginger Alden during the final months of his life, his thoughts often returned to Priscilla. He frequently reached out to her, calling her at all hours of the day and night, even as he continued to spiral into a self-destructive cycle. Despite his personal issues, Elvis's love for Priscilla never truly faded, and his possessiveness and jealousy over her relationships, particularly with other men, continued. Elvis and Priscilla's final phone call, which took place just hours before his death, remains a deeply painful memory for Priscilla. The conversation began with an argument. According to Mary Jenkins, the longtime cook at Graceland, the tension in their conversation stemmed from a disagreement over travel arrangements for their daughter, Lisa Marie Presley. The call had been tense, but it also marked one of the rare instances where they were communicating at all after their divorce. In her recollection, Priscilla shared how their conversation was filled with unresolved emotions, but they were still speaking to each other, which in Priscilla's eyes raised hope for a possible reunion. Jenkins had long believed that Elvis still wanted to reconcile with Priscilla, and this call seemed to confirm her belief that Elvis was struggling with his own demons and regret. But things took a darker turn. Elvis, as usual, had been battling his inner turmoil, weighed down by the pressures of fame, his health issues, and the addiction to prescription drugs that had plagued him for years. As they spoke, Priscilla could hear Elvis's voice weakening, and while she tried to push past their differences, the conversation never took the turn she had hoped for. He wanted her back, and his desperation echoed through the phone line.
Before we continue, have you ever wondered how action stars like Chuck Norris stay in shape in their old age? We were recently sent a video that he made, and we couldn't believe our eyes. At 85 years old, Chuck Norris is still staying active, working out, and kicking butt. What's even crazier is he says he still feels like he's in his 50s, with more strength and endurance than he had in his prime. He even has plenty of energy left over for his grandkids. He achieved all of this by making just one change, and after seeing his results, his wife started doing it too. She says she feels 10 years younger, her body is leaner, and she has energy that lasts all day. Chuck personally made a video that explains everything, which you can see at chuckdefense.com/facts, or by clicking the link below this video. You won't believe how simple his secret is. Just go to chuckdefense.com/facts, or click on the link in the description, and it'll completely change the way you think about your health. At 85 years old, the legendary Chuck Norris has more energy than men half his age. Once he discovered the 3 things that sabotage our body as we age, he was able to find a solution that he now credits with transforming his health. See his method for yourself by clicking the link in the description below or visiting chuckdefense.com/facts.
After their final conversation, Elvis was found unconscious on the bathroom floor of Graceland, a victim of his debilitating health and drug dependency. His girlfriend, Ginger Alden, was asleep in their bed, and his daughter, Lisa Marie, was in another room. The king of rock and roll had passed away at the age of 42, far too young for someone who had left such a massive impact on the music world. Elvis's last phone call to Priscilla is remembered not only for the words that were exchanged, but for the silent regrets left unspoken. Priscilla had spent much of her her life wondering what would have happened if they had reconciled. She had been Elvis's muse and his greatest love, yet she had to come to terms with the fact that their love story was never going to have a fairy tale ending. In the years following Elvis's death, Priscilla has spoken extensively about their relationship, most notably in her 1985 memoir, Elvis and Me. She recalled how, after their separation, Elvis continued to call her, sometimes obsessively, even though they were both leading separate lives. He would often share his frustrations with her and reminisce about their time together, but he never truly let go of the idea that they could somehow return to their former life. Priscilla has said that had she known that the phone call would be their last, she would have expressed more of what she felt for him, things she had kept hidden, things she had never said out of fear of the timing. She often reflects on how their love was filled with complications, love that had once been passionate but became strained by Elvis's behavior and addiction.
You know, you were with him when you became a young woman, you married him, and you were only with him for 6 years, man and wife.
No, but we were together way before that. I was with him when I was, 16, 17, 18, 19, and then we married at 21 and on. Since you divorced, I guess people have always asked you about him.
The last conversation in particular serves as a poignant reminder of the unresolved emotions that marked the end of their relationship. In an interview with The Guardian in 2015, Priscilla also revealed something deeply personal, her belief that Elvis continues to communicate with her beyond his death.
You know, I knew what he liked, what he didn't like, I knew his thoughts, I knew everything as far as you couldn't possibly do when you live together at such a young age. So I think that's really why people, ask me so many questions, and I'm much more comfortable with it now because I am my own person in my own right now, so I'm able to share that.
She described feeling his presence at times, particularly when she was involved in producing If I Can Dream, an album that featured Elvis's vocals combined with a new orchestral arrangement by the Royal Philharmonic Orchestra. Priscilla spoke of feeling guided by Elvis's spirit during the creation of the album, as if his energy was still with her. Priscilla's belief in Elvis's presence after death is not just a fleeting thought, but a powerful emotional connection that transcends the physical. For her, the loss of Elvis never truly meant the end of their bond.
Evening. Elvis Presley died today. He was 42. Apparently it was a heart attack. He was found at his home in Memphis, not breathing. His road manager tried to revive him. He failed. A hospital tried to revive him. It failed. His doctor pronounced him dead at 3 o'clock this afternoon. The end at an early age of one of the two most spectacular careers in the history of American entertainment, the other being Frank Sinatra's. Long after he became an institution, here was how Presley looked and sounded on an NBC television special 4 seasons ago.
She has often said that their shared love, the music they created, and the memories they made together would live on forever, even though he was no longer physically with her. Looking back at the final phone call, one can't help but wonder if Elvis truly understood the depth of his feelings for Priscilla. Had he known how much she still cared for him, how much she still wanted to see him change, perhaps their story could have taken a different turn. Instead, the final conversation remains a haunting memory for Priscilla.
Presley was very nearly at the peak of his career when he was drafted into the Army. That was 1958. Here he's arriving for a tour of duty in Germany, an enlisted man driving a Jeep. He could have gone into what they call special services and avoided the kind of time put in by ordinary soldiers, but Presley didn't. Actually, he trained as a tank man. He sold records in the multiples of millions, made millions, bought a string of Cadillacs, one after another, gave away a string of Cadillacs to people he liked, and along the way he was married in 1967 to Priscilla Ann Beaulieu. The very symbol of sex for all of the millions or hundreds of thousands of teenagers, was married only once.
A reminder of what could have been had their lives taken a different path. Though Elvis Presley is gone, his legacy lives on in the music, the fans, and the family he left behind. For Priscilla, the pain of his loss is tempered by the memories of their time together, the good and the bad. As she moves forward with her life, she carries with her the lessons learned from a love that never truly ended, even after Elvis's death. The king may have left this world too soon, but his presence continues to haunt those who loved him the most, especially Priscilla Presley, who will always carry a part of Elvis with her, no matter where life leads her.